never seen.
Yo, what's up guys? Bill here, Classic Rock and Metal Review. Time for a little new to me album review, something that I picked up in a recent monthly haul back in December, I believe. Vinyl copy of Tom Johnston of the Doobie Brothers, his debut solo album, Everything You've Heard Is True, Warner Brothers Records, 1979. And a really good one. And I didn't feel that way when I first got it. It's really come to grow on me the last few months, specifically the last few weeks. Give you a little history for Tom Johnston in particular, a little bit of Doobies thrown in there too. This is an album that's generally gets less than favorable reviews. So I'll tell you what I think and let you in on my exposure to a few of these songs about a decade or more ago, not through listening, but through watching some soundstage Tom Johnston. So then we'll go track by track to this 8-song debut album. Little of Tom's history first, folks. Born 1948, Visalia, California, not too far from Fresno. Tom was playing clarinet by the age of 7, which I think he went on to play for a number of years. Also played some saxophone, picked up guitar at the age of 12, and developed that quick strum style of his, kind of his signature style, from a variety of Latin influences. You can imagine, Southern California. But also including, he played in a Mexican wedding band for some time too, so picked that strum style up there. Moved to San Jose, where he met Skip Spence, formerly of the Jefferson Airplane, formed Moby Grape. Spence introduced Tom to John Hartman, who would be the initial drummer for the Doobie Brothers. They met Patrick Simmons, guitar player, and Dave Sjogren on bass. Originally called Pud, became the Doobie Brothers. By 1971, they record their debut. Tom, vocals, guitar, main songwriter. Also played some piano on there. Wasn't aware of that. Toulouse Street did well in 72. Multi-platinum by The Captain and Me in 73. What Once Were Voices Are Now Habits in 74. Had their first #1 song. Another platinum album, Stampede, 75. However, some health issues that Tom had been dealing with for quite a number of years caught up with him in 75. He had been dealing with stomach ulcers, which finally hospitalized him right before the 1975 Doobie Brothers tour was to begin, and he missed that entire tour. Michael McDonald, at the suggestion of guitarist Jeff "Skunk" Baxter, brought in to fill in, and the rest is history as far as Michael McDonald and the Doobies go. Tom maintains a presence with the Doobies, however, for a couple more years. Contributed one song to Taking It to the Streets in 76, and I think he also played on another. I think he sang on Wheels of Fortune. And he was able to play on some of, but not all of, the 76 tour dates. I know I have at least one video with him. I think it's Winterland, San Francisco. He's on that video. 1977, now this was actually news to me. Tom is on he's on the inner sleeve of Living on the Fault Line, their 77 album. Is this Edsel, I think? Rhino put these, I guess you can call them deluxe editions out there. 2011 Edsel, okay? Sorry about that. They're using the inner sleeve on the cover of this 2-for-1 here. There's Living on the Fault Line, and Tom is in that picture. However, this was news to me until researching for this episode. Tom actually wrote and recorded 5 songs with the Doobie Brothers for Living on the Fault Line, none of which were used, and I guess at some point the decision was made that he just leave the band. So apparently these songs were recorded and never released, and not even on these Edsel re-releases or reissues. These are chock full of bonus tracks. I've got like 2 more back on that shelf at least. Mostly for the bonus tracks, but they do sound great too. They're nice remasters. Never appeared on any of these re-releases of Living on the Fault Line, those bonus tracks. And not even on the box set do we get any of those Tom Johnston Living on the Fault Line bonus tracks. That's news to me. I'll be hunting them down, if they're even out there to be had. So 5 songs, that's interesting. Never knew that one. So anyway, so sometime around that era, during that recording and so forth, decision made for Tom Johnston to just move on. So Doobies, of course, moved in a whole new direction with Michael McDonald. A lot of people weren't happy with. even people out there that say he ruined the Doobie Brothers. So hopes were high, I think, when this album came out in '79, that you were going to get a dose of what the Doobie Brothers could have continued to be had Tom stayed with the band. So, like I said, less than favorable overall reviews for this record. And a lot of it because it just wasn't early Doobie sounding. Anyway, 1979, a healthy and rested Tom Johnston records this album. Everything you've heard is true. As I mentioned, Warner Brothers Records, produced by basically full-time Warner Brothers producer Ted Templeman, who had done a bunch of the Doobie Brothers albums, Van Halen, Van Morrison, Nicolette Larson, solo stuff that I think her first album is '78. So keeping things within the Warner Brothers family, the album also features fellow Doobie Brothers. Keith Knudsen plays drums on one song, Michael McDonald, but not on vocals, just playing keyboard on a song also. Vocalist Nicolette Larson does sort of, I guess you'd call her backing vocals on one song. Albeit they're all minor roles, like I mentioned. So let's get to the track by track, all right? We have one of those always frustrating album covers where the song titles are out of order with the album. You know, I guess maybe this is what they initially had in mind. We'll list the songs in the actual running orders if you put the album on, which is not Man on the Stage. We get Down Along the River first. So, classic Tom Johnston, I was already mentioning, that classic quick strum signature style of his playing, opens the album, as it should. That's the thing he's known for, and that's what we get right off the bat. However, it doesn't take long for things to give way to, despite this guitar riff starting things out, we get that sort of fashionable for '79, danceable percussion in the background, some funky keyboards also. And interestingly, I think it's after the second chorus, we get a sax solo that as soon as that solo kicks in, this immediately sounds like something that could have been on like Minute by Minute. Really gives off some '78 or '79 Doobie Brother vibes. You know, so if you ever wondered if Mike could have, or Tom could have fit alongside Mike in the Doobies past Taking It to the Streets, here's the answer. Sounds perfect for that type of band. The song doesn't really have a chorus. They go back to the opening intro guitar riff as the chorus, which, you know, you can say that for a lot of the songs on this album. There aren't true choruses here, at least in the sense that, you know, nothing like China Grove and so forth. However, the guitar riff here is really cool. You know, back about 15 years ago, was doing a lot of trade-in concert DVDs. And somebody sent me a list, and it was Tom Johnston Soundstage '79. And I had never even heard of that show, Tom having a solo career. Immediately traded for that and watched that, you know, a few times. I wasn't blown away by it. But this is the one song, Down Along the River, that I did recall, just from that guitar riff. And sort of this descending chord thing that he does, it just kind of stands out, and it was memorable to me. It was one of the songs I remembered when I first threw this album on. So it's not a great song, but I really do like it. It's pretty damn catchy. And that Soundstage show, I have a decent version of it. YouTube has a really good looking version of it if you want to catch some of that. Pretty cool. Recorded in '79, aired early 1980 as far as I remember. Good show that's about half Doobies. And I thought there was only a few songs on there from this album. There's actually 6. John Hartman from the Doobies is drumming for that Soundstage performance. And also the Memphis Horns that recorded this album with Tom. And they're on here a lot. They're on here, I think, about a half a dozen songs. They are also on the Soundstage show. So, you know, it's got a lot going on, but Down Along the River, at the core of it is a guitar song, and it's a pretty good one. If not fantastic, but it is pretty solid. Solid opener. Next up, Show Me. Real rock and roll soul here. Get like these Sam and Dave vibes, all right? Prominent horn involvement with this one. The horns are constantly riffing during this song. It's got this steady, danceable, sort of blue-eyed soul beat. Nice, tasty piano breakdown after the second chorus, which breaks into a real rock and solo. Honestly, you know, I thought this was just okay for 1 or 2 listens, you know. All right, Tom loves his soul. You know, there's been little dashes of that throughout the Doobie Brothers' early career. Toulouse Street had a few songs with horns. Stampede had a few more. So Tom's getting it out of his system once again. That was my initial feeling. First one or two, even 3-4 listens in. Let me just get past this. It's only a few minutes long anyway. But, you know, now I'm 5, 6. I think I just listened to this album for the 7th time today. Once or twice back in December and 4 or 5 times in the last few weeks. I'm really starting to dig this song. Now, I don't love it. I don't think I'll ever love it, but it is pretty cool. You can say, I know this is overstated a lot of times, but infectious groove, it's here. All right, it applies. So I'm going to use that overused term once more. You really start to appreciate all these sort of buried little musical pieces within these songs when you get up to this number of listens, you know. So overall with Show Me, it's a good one. It's not great, but I really was just tolerating it at first, and now I'm looking forward to hearing this song. It's actually pretty cool. You know, most songs to me are the sum of their parts. This album has a lot of songs that the parts are great. And it takes you multiple listens to start putting all the pieces together, you know. So there's what's on the surface, and then there's all the other things that go into it. You start to get used to the songs. You start to be able to appreciate all the little musical nuggets that are in there. Savannah Nights is next, the first single off the album. Now this one, pretty undeniably disco-ish, all right? Funky, danceable beat. Really no way around it on this one. A lot going on musically, though. You have the disco era percussion, all right? Horns, disco influenced era horns, all right? Eventually you get some piano in there to spice things up too. But, you know, again, now this might be something you take multiple listens to recognize because you need to get past that 79 funky danceable shit in the beginning. The basic rhythm here is classic Tom Johnston, quick strum, electric guitar, you know? The rhythm on this one kind of sounds a lot like the rhythm of Wheels of Fortune, which was actually a Pat Simmons song from Taking It to the Streets. Easily the most timely disco-like song on the record, all right? If you read fan reviews of this album, you're going to see a lot that use the word disco. This song's too disco for me. Tom's going disco and such like that. So if you're one of those rocking-only Doobie Brothers fans, this will be a no-go no matter what I say to you. But for most music fans like me who really don't mind when classic rock bands, you know, dabble in other areas, Chicago's Street Player, there's a good example. Definitely a discoed out Chicago song. It's still Chicago, but it's definitely conceding to the times, all right? Rock and Roll Fantasy by Bad Company, not quite as much. You get where I'm going with it. I just look at it like this. Like, I'm okay with a little disco now. But I don't want to go out and buy a Tramps record, you know? So I'm okay hearing an occasional song by one of the Doobie Brothers that sounds a little disco-ish. And that would definitely fit this one. But this is how good this song is, man. This is actually my favorite song on the album. It's a great one. Really good song, really good chorus. This one actually has a proper chorus. Good guitar playing underneath, everything else going on. None of these songs are too long. The whole album's only a half hour, so you can do the math on that. We got a bunch of 3-minute songs here. Also, there's this super funky keyboard solo after the second chorus, which kind of leaves you hoping by the time that solo's done, it's just waiting for a guitar solo. And Tom just steps right in, like it's like exactly what you want when you want it. So kind of rocks up this otherwise disco number. But it's like disco over top of Tom Johnston's signature style. So I just really like it. Fourth in, I Can Count on You, last song on side 1 for the album. Not disco, not rock, but definitely funk. Tom going for this sort of scat voice, you know, going for that real soulful sort of earthy thing. Funky bass and horns. Still get your hard rock guitar solo in the middle of all this, which Tom seems to throw in every one of these songs. No matter what style the song is, you get a rock solo, which is cool. One of my least favorites on this album. It's still okay though. Still a pretty good song. Next up, Small Time Talk. Very Doobie Brothers heyday opening guitar lick. Probably fit perfectly on What Once Were Vices Are Now Habits from '74. So another good guitar song and another really good one, really. Small Time Talk. Reaching Out for Lovin' from You, definitely the most album-oriented rock, sort of light rock style song on here. Really good tune with backing vocals from Nicolette Larson at the chorus. It's not a duet though, she just comes in at the chorus. Again, back to the parts are greater than the whole sort of description I was giving you earlier. Initially, I kind of felt like this chorus didn't really gel with the rest of the song. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. The song sort of stops for the chorus to take place. You know, there's sort of these light cymbal crashes, instruments follow that. But it was really just an awkward song, is how I guess I kind of found it. Subsequent listens to this one, you know, most songs that were written in this style would have just kept going with the same beat right through the chorus, you know. But those three sort of stutter beats that happen at the chorus, they actually sound cool. What the drums do is they don't just tap those cymbals 3 times, kind of brushing the cymbals and brushing the toms. It gives a little space for the piano and the bass to reach out there and expand. So it's just this sort of understated song that has some interesting musical things going on, more than you catch on the surface on those initial listens, you know. Tom does some nice, like, soulful singing sort of wails behind Nicolette Larson, who's just basically singing that title straight out. So, you know, it had to be tempting for them to just keep that song straight ahead with that, you know, basic beat. And instead, just choosing to do something different there. So, you know, like I said, I initially found this to be kind of a clunky, awkward song at the chorus. And now that's my favorite part about the song. So, you know, this is definitely an album that's like a fine wine. Next up is Outlaw. This thing rocks as hard as anything the Doobie Brothers ever did. An opening riff on here is just a keeper. It'll be in your head for days. Great one. Another tune that went from very good to excellent for me, with all these recent listens, you know. It has this tasty sort of sliding guitar chords behind the verses, to where Tom, I guess, strums a chord and then just slides, you know, the chord hand around while after he strums it. So it just sounds really interesting. And another one of those hidden gems, you know, you don't pick up at first. So still actually hearing new things. 6 or 7 plays into this thing. So last up, Man on the Stage, another really good, really cool tune. Masterful, classic Tom Johnston opening once again, and this one electric. The chorus part, no true chorus yet again. It's this sort of almost like a tribal war drum beat going on behind this cool note pattern where Tom is singing right in time and right in tune with the note pattern thing he's doing, a la Hendrix, you know. Can't help but headbang to it too, because that driving tom beat is just kind of almost like a war beat, you know. This is a great one, man. This album finishes strong with Man on the Stage. So maybe they should have had this first, you know. But it actually is a great ender because it fades out. So final words, man. I picked this up December of 23. Played it 1 or 2 times the first week. And, you know, holidays came. Had the flu till New Year's. Just got back into it the last couple weeks, you know, and even after those first 2 or 3 listens, I knew it was good enough for me. I thought better than what most people said about it. Enough for me to want to spotlight this thing. And so threw it on a week or 2 ago, getting ready for this review. And man, this thing has just grown on me immensely, as an understatement, I guess you could say. Having the channel, I try to avoid reading other people's reviews for albums, you know, so I can just keep things as real as possible and as authentic as possible. So, but I've been trying to talk myself into spending $25 or $30 for this CD for a couple years now. So, you know, one time or another the past few years, I've been reading reviews about this thing, and they generally just say fair at best, you know, if not worse. A couple people like it, most people don't, you know. Fair generally is the consensus with it. So I really felt the need to come on and talk about this album because I just think it's so much better than it gets reported to be, you know. So is it some long lost Doobie Brothers album? I would say no, not mind blowing. But, you know, is it what the Doobies might have sounded like in '79 had Tom stayed with the band? Kind of, yeah, I think so. You know, I think there's enough there that sounds actually more of old Doobie like, you know. So I'm a little surprised when people who get this album hoping to get something that sounds more like the Doobies than Minute by Minute are disappointing, because I really think it definitely does, you know. Not that that was a bad album, I like Minute by Minute too, but this is, I think, right up there with it, maybe even a little better. You know, if you're hoping for another Captain and Me, no, you're not getting that. You know, I think people are, those kind of folks are forgetting it's 1979. No one's going to sound like the Captain and Me anymore. I just think that as a solo album, Tom wrote a bunch of songs in various styles, you know, and whatever kind of danceable vibe a few of them have, you know, doesn't undo the underlying classic style of Tom that's here, some tasty musicianship along the way. The core of these songs are, you know, really, really good, and I think the playing on here is fantastic. Yeah, Jim Keltner as the drummer on here. Stalwart studio bassist Bob Glaub is on here. Already mentioned that the Memphis Horns are part of this recording. Nicolette Larson vocals. Michael McDonald, Doobie Brother, Keith Knudsen also playing on this record. Just musically though, no vocals from either of those guys. You know, this is an album I probably would have given maybe in the high 7s after 2 or 3 listens. I'm going to give it a 9 today. I just really enjoy this thing. I admit it's taken me 3 or 4 more listens, probably somewhere in the 7 or 8 listen range now in the last couple months. But I'm still continuing to like it even more. I mean, I just played the thing twice today. That should tell you something, you know. But I have to admit, I'm someone that doesn't mind hearing all those other sort of styles of music, you know. I didn't throw this on hoping for another Doobie Brothers album. And, you know, I really think solo albums should be their own sort of thing, you know. And I'm sure Tom, like all artists, trying to have some pressure there to be contemporary to the times. You just kind of have to be in that business, you know. So the magic lies in those subsequent listens. Tom Johnston, Everything You've Heard Is True, 1979, Warner Brothers. You can get this on CD, brand new. It's still in print, but it's 25 or 30 bucks. I happened to cross this used vinyl, $8 in the music store near me. And I think you can still get it. I think I saw a decent copy on eBay. 10 bucks vinyl, free shipping. So the album sounds great. Haven't heard any of those CDs. I'll try to get it on CD at some point. Guys, that'll do it for this episode. Our next New to Me review will come in April. Not really sure what I'm going to do. Got some candidates. That Jefferson Starship Red Octopus is really good. Earth, Wind and Fire, That's the Way of the World, excellent. But Snowy White, White Flames, that one I need to hear again. I only heard that once. That left a great impression. Also Queensryche, Empire. Just got that, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. That's a really good album. Never heard that one before. So next episode after this, guys, we'll either do some bootleg update action or maybe review that Led Zeppelin Tour Over Mannheim CD. One of them's coming at you soon. Everyone, have a great friggin' day. I'm doing my water because the drinking's coming later. Catch y'all later.